Now, you also you go through the sort of 5 ways where countries can make themselves rich. I mean, obviously, looking at our neighbours across the Tasman, Australia, they dig up their desert and ship it to China. They've got
Right.
fantastic natural resources, and other countries get rich from oil. But you're saying innovation has to be the way to go.
The argument is there's nothing wrong with sending iron ore or coal or copper or tin to China in terms of a way to get wealthy or exploiting oil reserves, but you have to have them. To the extent that we have gas and to the extent that we have coal, there's nothing counter-strategic about exploiting those resources. The problem is that if we're looking for a means by which to grow at an economic growth rate that's faster than the best performing economies in the OECD, then natural resources for us isn't going to work. And if you look across the world, or you look across the economy, there's only really 5 ways that economies get rich. Natural resources is one of them. Agriculture is another. We already talked about that. Manufacturing is the third. But to become wealthy or become wealthier through manufacturing, you need a very large uneducated population base, and you need to start from a very low level of income. So for China, for Bangladesh, for India, for Vietnam, that's perfect. For us, our unskilled wage rates are very high and on a global basis, and long may that be the case. So you really have to say that manufacturing is not going to get us there, and the easy example there is Hunhai, the average monthly wage for a factory worker making iPhones in China is about 2,500 RMB a month, so $500 New Zealand a month. That isn't going to make us richer. So I think talking about manufacturing for anything longer than I already have, it really points out the fallacy of assuming that manufacturing will or could drive our economy. That then leaves you with services. The problem with services is, again, that you normally need a large population base in close proximity. You look at Mexico or you look at Spain in terms of tourism, that's great. Again, relatively low income and a large population base that likes to get a tan. So you can see how there is a natural opportunity there. We don't have that either. And so if you go through those 4 areas, the only one that's really left, so natural resources, services, agriculture, manufacturing, the only thing that's really left is innovation. And this is a sector that didn't even exist as separate from the other 4 until maybe 20, 30 years ago. We're now at a point in time where, and the example that everyone uses, so I'll use it, is Apple. Apple used to make its computers in California. It now designs its computers in California and has them made in China. So you go from the process of making stuff to designing stuff. So if you run through that grouping again, instead of natural resources, you don't exploit oil. You don't mine drill for oil. You develop a blowout protector that actually works. With agriculture again. Growth or improving technologies. Gallagher's in Hamilton is a great example there. Services, the travel aggregation website rather than simple tourism is a good example of how you develop an innovative product or service. And the last one, manufacturing, obviously, is developing the product itself. So this idea of innovation is through a process of elimination what's left. It's also well suited to our personality type. We, as a country, we like to think we're smart, we like to think we're nimble, we like to think we're inventive. Well, that's great, because this should be our century if that's the case, because innovation is where you really create those premium margins.